Hey, friends, and welcome back to Nourish with Regina, where we talk about transforming your plate and transforming your life. Today's episode is one that I've been really excited to share because we're talking about something that sounds simple, but is actually incredibly powerful. And that is the idea of food as medicine. Now, when people hear that phrase, they sometimes think this has to be super complicated or expensive or something that requires a complete overhaul of the way you eat. But what I want to show you today is something very different. That some of the most powerful supportive tools for your health are already in your kitchen. And that's what's really fascinating is that modern science is now confirming what traditional cultures have known for centuries. For thousands of years, systems like traditional Chinese medicine has used food, especially herbs and spices, not just for flavor, but for healing. Things like turmeric, garlic, ginger, cinnamon, they weren't random additions to meals. They were intentionally added to support digestion, inflammation, circulation, immune function. And now, fast forward to today, we have researchers studying these exact same foods in clinical settings, and we're seeing something really interesting. We're finding that these everyday ingredients contain compounds that directly influence how the body functions on a cellular level. For example, turmeric contains a compound called curcumin, and research has shown that curcumin can actually interact with inflammatory pathways in the body, like something called NF-κB, which plays a role in chronic inflammation. In simpler terms, it helps calm down the signals in the body that drive inflammation. Garlic has been shown to support immune function and reduce inflammatory compounds by influencing immune cells and oxidative stress. Cinnamon has been studied for its ability to improve insulin sensitivity and support blood sugar balance, which ties directly into energy, cravings, and metabolic health. And when researchers look at dietary patterns overall, especially diets rich in whole foods, herbs, spices, and plant compounds, they consistently find reductions in inflammatory markers and improvements in metabolic health. So, what we're seeing is this beautiful overlap. Ancient wisdom saying these foods support the body, and modern science saying yes, and here's exactly how. Now, here's the part I really want you to take away from this. These foods aren't acting like medications. They're not designed to create a dramatic overnight effect. What they're doing is much more subtle, but incredibly powerful. They're supporting your body at a cellular level, reducing oxidative stress, helping regulate inflammation, supporting your metabolism. And the way they do this is through repetition, through consistency. Because when you add these foods in small amounts, day after day, meal after meal, those effects begin to compound over time. It's not the one time you add turmeric to a meal, it's the 100th time. It's not the one clove of garlic, it's the habit of using it regularly to season your food. And over time, those small daily additions create real, measurable change in your body. And that's so exciting. It's less inflammation. You're going to notice more stable energy, better digestion, improved metabolic health. And I think that's what makes this so empowering because it shifts the focus from what do I need to cut out? What should I restrict? To what can I start adding in? And that's where food truly becomes medicine. So let's start here because I think this phrase, food is medicine, can get misunderstood. Sometimes when people hear it, they think it means I should be able to fix everything with food alone, or if I eat perfectly, I won't ever need anything else. And that's not what this means. Food as medicine does not mean food replaces medical care. It means food plays a foundational role in how your body functions every single day. It's the baseline. It's what your body is built on because when you really think about it, every cell in your body, every hormone, every enzyme, every signal is built from what you eat. So every time you sit down for a meal, you're not just eating, you're sending your body information. You're giving it signals, and those signals are constantly influencing how your body behaves. So when you eat, you're either supporting things like inflammation balance, blood sugar stability, gut health, hormone regulation, cellular repair, or you're making those systems work harder. Not because your body is failing, but because it's trying to keep up with what it's being given. And I think this is such an important shift in perspective. Because instead of thinking, what do I need to cut out, which is very overwhelming sometimes, it comes from a negative place to think like that you're going to be deprived or you're going to have to give something up. But when we start asking, what can I give my body to help it function better? Now this is a positive turn on this. This is something to look forward to. Um, and this is where the herbs and spices really become powerful. Because while all whole food provides nutrients, herbs and spices are especially rich in something called phytochemicals. And phytochemicals are natural compounds that plants produce to protect themselves. They help defend against environmental stress, bacteria, UV exposures, different diseases. And when we eat those compounds, they can have protective effects on our body too. That's where you'll hear terms like antioxidants, anti inflammatory compounds, polyphenols. These are all types of photochemicals. I'm sorry, phytochemicals. And what they do is help reduce things like oxidative stress in our bodies, cellular damage, inflammation, which are all processes that contribute to how we feel and how our body functions over time. And here's something I think is really important to understand. These compounds don't work in isolation. They don't act like a single supplement targeting one thing. They all work together synergistically, supporting multiple systems in our body all at once, which is why whole foods and especially herbs and spices can be so incredibly powerful because they're not just delivering one benefit, they're supporting the body as a whole. And this is why I love the idea of food as medicine because it brings us back to something simple, something sustainable, something that we can make fit into our real lives, no matter how busy they are. You don't need to overhaul everything overnight. You don't need to chase perfection. You just need to start becoming more intentional with what you're adding to your plate. Because those small choices made consistently can have much bigger impacts than people realize. So now let's talk a little bit about what research actually shows, because this is where things become incredibly interesting. Turmeric contains a compound called curcumin. Garlic contains sulfur compounds like allicin, which have been shown to support cardiovascular health. Cinnamon has been studied for its role in improving insulin sensitivity and blood sugar control. Ginger contains compounds that support digestion and reduce inflammation. Rosemary contains antioxidants that support brain health and protects against oxidative stress. And here's what I want you to notice. None of these are extreme interventions. They're all small, consistent inputs. And that's what makes them so powerful. So, this is something I really want to slow down on for a minute because this is where I think a lot of people miss the power of what we're talking about. We often think about health in extremes. That's why we give ourselves starting dates like Monday or challenges like I better eat everything I want today because tomorrow I start my diet. Um, those are extreme ways of thinking, and they really don't do us any good at all. Um, you know, if we think we're going to do something, we have to do it all in, or we need to do these big, massive changes, and completely change everything we're doing all at once. But when it comes to food, and especially herbs and spices, that's not actually how the body responds best. These compounds don't work like a medication. They're not going to create something dramatic overnight. You're going to have to start adding things, and it's going to take time. And we see this actually reflected in the research. For example, there have been multiple studies on curcumin, the active compound in turmeric. A review published in Advances in Experimental Medicine and Biology showed that curcumin can help reduce markers of inflammation like C-reactive proteins or CRPs when consumed consistently over time, not in one large dose, but through regular intake. And that was what's interesting is that curcumin works by influencing multiple pathways in the body, including that NF-κB pathway we talked about earlier. So it's not just targeting one thing. It's supporting the body in a broader, more integrated way. Another interesting thing that we've found about curcumin is that black pepper helps in absorption of that and helps it work in your body at an elevated level. So when you're going to take that or you're using turmeric in your food, add some black pepper to it. That's going to make it a powerhouse and help it work better in your body. So they're like your new favorite best friends for fighting inflammation. Turmeric and black pepper. So now let's look at garlic. A meta-analysis published in the Journal of Nutrition found that garlic supplementation was associated with reductions in total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol. And again, this wasn't from one-time exposure. It was from consistent use over time. Allicin is the active ingredient in garlic. And what we've also found is that it needs to be crushed or minced or something to activate that allicin. And once you do that, if you're going to mince your garlic, let it sit for 10 minutes after that, because then that allicin's really going to be engaged and it's going to absorb better in your body and it's going to function at a higher level too. So these are just, I get so excited with these little fun facts about food. Cinnamon is another great example. A study published in Diabetes Care showed that cinnamon can improve insulin sensitivity and reduce fasting blood glucose levels. And what I love about that is that cinnamon is something people can easily add to their daily routine. You can put some in your coffee grounds in the morning. You can put it on your yogurt parfaits. You can add it to protein shakes. We're not talking about something complicated. We're talking about something that can be sprinkled pretty much on everything. And then there's a broader level of research looking at dietary patterns overall. Studies on diets rich in plant foods like vegetables, herbs, spices, olive oil have consistently shown reductions in inflammation and improvements in metabolic health. One example is research on the Mediterranean diet, which is naturally rich in many of these compounds. That dietary pattern has been associated with lower levels of inflammatory markers and a reduced risk of chronic disease. So what we're seeing across the board on this, not one food is magic. There's no one magic meal that's going to take care of all of your health problems. There is not one single perfect ingredient, but a pattern of consistent small inputs that support the body over time. And this is where I really want you to shift your thinking, because it's not about what's the one thing I need to take to fix this. It's about what am I doing every single day that's either supporting my body or working against it. Because those daily choices are what creates long-term outcomes. It's the cinnamon you add regularly, the garlic you cook with consistently, the turmeric you start incorporating into meals. Those things add up. And over time, they begin to influence inflammation, blood sugar, cellular stress, and overall metabolic health. Again, not in a dramatic overnight way, but in a steady, sustainable way. And that's our goal, is to make changes to our lifestyle, to the way we eat, that are sustainable, that we can do for years and years and years. And I think there's something really freeing about that because it takes the pressure off. You don't have to do everything perfectly. You just have to be consistent. And that's where real change happens. So let's make this really practical because I don't want this to feel like something you have to figure out. So here are some simple ideas and suggestions on ways this week you can start to put this into practice. So we're going to add cinnamon to our yogurt or oatmeal or a smoothie this week for breakfast or a snack. Yogurt is a great afternoon snack. Greek yogurt's packed full of protein. Put some cinnamon on that. Maybe add some berries for a few extra antioxidants. That's a delicious and nourishing afternoon snack. When we're making dinner, so we're going to start using garlic and olive oil as a base for vegetables, our proteins, soups, turmeric and black pepper, great on vegetables. Use them to spice, season your proteins. Add them to rice or quinoa. Scrambled eggs, another great way to incorporate black pepper and turmeric and get that in as part of your day too. Use fresh herbs like rosemary. You can use that. It's great in roasted potatoes, on chicken, in different marinades. And here's the key. You don't need to do all of this all at once. Start one. Just just pick any of those ingredients this week and implement one thing into the way you're eating this week. Let it become part of your routine and then build from there. I really believe that God designed our bodies with incredible wisdom. He has also provided what we need through the earth, whole foods, herbs, plants. These aren't random. They were created to support us in our beautiful bodies. And when we begin to return to those simple natural inputs, we often start to feel better in ways we didn't expect because we're honoring the design of our world and our existence. So you don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You don't need a perfect diet. You just need to start with small, consistent changes because food becomes medicine, not through perfection, but through repetition. So before we wrap up today, I want to give you a little preview of what we're talking about next week. Next Tuesday's episode is reducing sugar without feeling deprived. And this is a really important conversation because sugar is one of the biggest things I see people struggle with when they're trying to improve their health. We're going to be talking about cravings, why sugar feels so hard to cut back on, and how to reduce it in a way that actually feels sustainable. So if that's something you've been navigating or you know someone that is struggling with that, you're definitely going to want to tune in. If you enjoyed today's episode and you're thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but how do I actually start using these ingredients? I've got a little gift for you. I've put together a couple recipes Easy, nourishing recipes using herbs and spices like we talked about today, and you can download those for free on my website. Just head over to www.nourishwithregina.com and click under free resources, and you'll find those there. And as always, if you're looking for more personalized support, I do offer both one-on-one and group nutrition coaching, where we take all of this and apply it to your real life and your individual situations in a way that feels doable and sustainable. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at Nourish with Regina, where I share recipes, tips, and a little bit of everyday life as well. And don't forget, new episodes of Nourish with Regina podcast drop every Tuesday at 11 a.m. I'm so grateful you're here. And until next time, keep nourishing your body one simple choice at a time.